Discover how a lonely receptionist's life changed in 30 days after an unexpected invitation from. Sarah felt like a ghost in her own life as the dental office buzzed around her. The phones rang incessantly, each ring a reminder of her daily existence. Answering calls, greeting grumpy patients, and shuffling paperwork that seemed to multiply by the hour. She wore her professional smile, hiding the turmoil beneath a longing for connection that clawed at her heart. Every day was a monotonous cycle, and every interaction with her estranged father's ghostly memory stung like a fresh wound. Then one unexpected afternoon, the dull routine was shattered by a colorful envelope. It was an invitation to a community event honoring local heroes. Her heart raced as she unfolded the paper, her father's name printed bold and clear among the honorees. A swell of emotions surged within her: fear, resentment, longing colliding into a storm she could hardly contain. Could she confront the man who had been more shadow than father? A war veteran now lost in the cold, shadowy walls of a rundown group home? As she deliberated, her kind-hearted neighbors, who always seemed to sense her struggles, began sharing their own stories of resilience. With every word, Sarah felt the tightness in her chest loosen just slightly. She thought of her father and the bitterness that lay like a brick in her throat. Maybe this was her chance to tackle what had long been buried. Could she find strength in their camaraderie? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But then news hit. The community center they relied on was facing funding cuts. The thought of that safe space disappearing sent a jolt of indignation through Sarah. It was more than just about her father. It was about the community, the threads of sorrow, hope, and fight for dignity that bound them all together. Listening to the stories shared in whispered tones around her, Sarah began to understand the power her voice could carry. She saw herself not only as a receptionist but as someone who could ignite change. As the anger rose within her, Sarah felt the flicker of hope ignite. She organized meetings, rallied neighbors, and stood before the local politicians, her heart pounding in her chest. She could feel their eyes watching her, their desperation echoing in her ears. The words felt powerful, like they could break apart the suffocating silence of neglect. But doubt whispered to her. The politician's empty promises loomed like dark clouds. Would she have the strength to push through the frustration, the pain? Moments before she took the stage, Sarah looked into her neighbors' eyes, those who needed her. She couldn't let their stories go unheard. This was her moment of greatest impact, not just for her father, but for everyone who deserved to be seen and valued. As she stepped forward to address the room, an electric buzz filled the air. The undeniable urge to reclaim her father's honor surged within her. Would anyone truly listen? In this anxious moment, she stood on the precipice of transformation. The journey ahead was unclear, but the fire in her heart burned bright. Would she be able to mobilize her community and, in doing so, heal the fractures of her own heart by reconnecting with her father? The spotlight felt blinding, yet Sarah embraced it. As she stood before the crowd, the weight of her neighbors' hopes pressed against her chest. She took a deep breath, clearing the fog of doubt that threatened to consume her. It was time to break free from the chains of her past and speak not just for herself, but for all those who felt unheard. Thank you all for being here, Sarah began, her voice steady despite the thrum of anxiety. We're gathered not just to honor those who we served, but to fight for our community, to fight for a place where we can share our stories and support each other. Her words spilled over like an open tap, mingling with the energy in the room. Faces turned toward her, some hopeful, others weary. But in that moment, she saw not just fear or indifference. She saw lives full of stories waiting to be told. She recalled the whispered tales shared at the coffee shop, the laughter and the sorrow woven into the very fabric of their neighborhood. Many of you know my father, a veteran who has done his share of fighting. But I want to talk about a different kind of battle. The fight for this community center, for a place where our voices matter, where our heroes can be celebrated, not forgotten. A ripple of murmurs filled the room, eyes locked onto hers. Maybe, just maybe, they were ready to join her in this struggle. She shared personal anecdotes, her growing up without a father, how the scars of abandonment still lingered. It's not easy to forgive. But if we don't start somewhere, we can't move forward. The crowd shifted, some nodding in understanding, others wiping away tears. In that instant, Sarah felt not just vulnerable but alive. It was as if she were forging connections with each person there, each shared sentiment a thread drawing them closer. After her speech, the hall erupted in applause. An older woman in the back stood up, her voice cracking with emotion. "You're right, dear. We've got to fight for this place. For every child who needs support. For every elder who deserves respect." One by one, hands shot up. Each voice added to the chorus of empowerment, sharing what the community center meant to them. A young mother spoke of finding friendship in the park. A retired teacher shared how she found purpose in tutoring kids after school. The stories flowed, rich and raw, leaving no one untouched. Sarah couldn't help but smile, warmth spilling over her heart. This was the transformation she longed for. Not just healing for herself, but an awakening within the entire community. It wasn't just about her father anymore. It was about forging a new narrative, one of resilience and hope. As the meeting drew to a close, her voice echoed with renewed strength. "Let us rally together. Let us plan a fundraiser. Let us turn our stories into action." The crowd erupted once more, determination radiating throughout the room. But as Sarah stepped off the stage, a wave of uncertainty crashed over her. Could they really pull it off? Could she really face her father when the time came to confront that chapter of her life? Would he carry the same courage she felt swelling in the room? Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She hesitated, glancing at the screen. It was a message from the group home where her father lived, confirming his attendance at the event next week. The ground seemed to tilt beneath her feet. This was the moment. Would she seize it, or let it slip away like so many others? With her heart racing and questions swirling in her mind, Sarah took a deep breath. She knew one thing for sure: the next step she took could change everything. For herself and her community. What would happen when she had to finally face him? The week leading up to the event felt like an eternity. Each day, Sarah would awake with a lump in her throat, a mix of excitement and terror swirling in her stomach. She rehearsed conversations in her head, played out scenarios of joy and heartbreak, and wondered constantly what her father would say. Would he even recognize her? The idea seemed outrageous yet haunting. On the morning of the fundraiser, the air buzzed with anticipation. Sarah arrived at the community center early, her hands trembling as she set up chairs, arranged tables draped in vibrant cloth, and hung string lights that twinkled like stars. Each task anchored her to the moment, though doubt lurked at the edges of her mind. She clasped the hem of her shirt repeatedly, willing herself to breathe. As people began to filter in, she was greeted by familiar faces and the smiles of the community. The same neighbors she had poured her heart out to just days ago now buzzed with energy, ready to support the center. A chilling spark of energy passed through her. They were here, united by a shared purpose. "Sarah," called Linda, the older woman who had rallied the crowd at the meeting. "Look at all these people. We're going to fill this place." The sparkle in Linda's eyes matched the enthusiasm in her voice. It was contagious. Sarah felt herself lighten, the warmth of unity washing over her as the hall filled. She glanced toward the entrance, her heart pounding. What if her father didn't show? What if waiting for him was all for nothing? Just then the door creaked open. There he was, leaning on his cane, the familiar face of her father framed by the soft glow of the entryway light. He looked older and frail, a man molded by the trials of time. Yet when his eyes caught hers, a flicker of recognition sparked. "Sarah," he breathed, as if her name was a prayer. The room trembled with his presence. She gulped, fighting tears as she made her way to him. "Dad," she choked out, and the weight of years melted away with that single word. He reached out, his hand trembling as he brushed a stray hair behind her ear. "I'm proud of you," he said, voice thick. "To stand up like this. It takes courage." In that moment, the walls they built between them felt too fragile to hold. Their reconnection hovered, unresolved but powerful, like electricity in the air. The fundraiser began. Laughter and stories filled the space, vibrations of everything they had fought against buzzing together in harmony. Sarah felt alive, radiating in the shared experiences of her community, yet part of her still remained ensnared in memories of hurt. "Isn't it beautiful?" her father said, looking around at the gathering. All these people, all these stories. Yes, she replied, the truth settling in her heart. But we need to talk. As the night wore on, she shared and listened. She was struck by the tales of resilience and bravery around her. There she was, the spotlight instead shining on so many, illuminating dreams and hopes that survived against all odds. Yet, the thread connecting her to her father tugged urgently. They could face this together, but would they? Just as she braced herself to emerge deeper into that conversation, her phone buzzed again. Another message, pulling her attention back to reality. An anonymous donor had pledged a significant amount if they matched it by midnight. Her mind reeled. This was the moment her community had been waiting for. Their future hinged on what happened next. And she had to act fast. As she looked back at her father, his eyes clouded with uncertainty but filled with the same hope she felt radiating in the room, she realized they both stood at a crossroads. What if the journey they began tonight could become a healing for both of them? Or would the ghosts of their pasts ignite another battle? Time was running out. Everyone was waiting, but she had to decide, would she go for the match, or take this chance to unravel the complexities of their relationship? Her gaze flicked back to the crowd, where vibrant conversations filled the air, laughter bubbling like champagne. The energy in the room was almost palpable, a collective heartbeat of hope. But amidst the joy, a gnawing anxiety curled in her stomach. What if they didn't reach that match? Sarah. Linda's voice broke through her thoughts, calling her over. We've got a good start on donations. You should take a minute to soak this all in. Okay, just a second. Sarah waved back, her voice barely containing the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Her father stood nearby, his expression soft yet apprehensive. What did he feel? Taking a deep breath, she moved closer to him. Dad, I want to talk. About us. He nodded slowly, the weight of years lingering between them. Think we should. But let us walk outside first. As they stepped onto the cool porch, a breeze rustled the leaves. Stars flickered overhead, the quiet night contrasting the storm of feelings rising between them. I don't want to lose what's happening inside, she began, unsure of her next words. But we can't ignore the past. I need you to understand why I'm here, why I'm fighting for this community. Her father leaned against the railing, his eyes locked on her. I know I've made mistakes. I hurt you, Sarah. I never meant to. I thought distance would ease the tension. Distance just made it worse, she replied, a mix of anger and sadness swelling. I felt abandoned. I was trying to reach out, but every time I did, doors began to close. He sighed, a heavy breath weighed down by regret. I was fighting my own demons. It's no excuse, but I never thought you'd carry that burden alone. I didn't want you to feel shame. Shame. The word hung in the air like dark smoke. Sarah shook her head, frustration and hurt clawing at her. What about my shame when no one showed up? When I felt invisible? I'm here because I believe we can be better. Together. His eyes glistened, the flicker of hope battling with guilt. I want that too, Sarah. That's why I came tonight. I want to be part of this, part of you. Then we need to match that donation. We can't let this community down. She could feel the magic in the air again, that buzz that had filled the hall. Could they really face this together? As if on cue, the MC's voice echoed through the hall, reminding everyone of the midnight deadline. They had only hours left. A final plea rose within Sarah. Please, Dad. Let us do this not just for the community but for ourselves. Show me you're all in. He glanced back toward the door, the bubbling energy drawing him in. His resolve firmed in the dim light. He turned to her. I will. But first there is something I need to tell you. Just then the center's lights flickered, and the crowd buzzed with unease. A ripple of anticipation passed through the gathering. What? She urged, her heart racing. Something you want to expect. The room quieted. Everyone's attention honed in on them. As her father took a step closer, something shifted, and Sarah couldn't help but wonder what secret lay behind his eyes. In a moment poised between revelation and uncertainty, she asked herself, could this be the turning point they both needed? Her father's lips parted, but the words faltered at the edge of his breath. A heartbeat seemed to echo through the crowd, the tension rippling across the room like a tightrope stretched to its limit. Sarah could feel her own heartbeat quicken, a frantic drum urging him to unearth the secret he held back. Dad? She pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. straining against the weight of anticipation. Before I met your mother, I made some choices. Choices I thought were best at the time. But there's something you need to know that might change how you see everything. He took a moment, eyes darting to the crowd as if searching for something, maybe courage. I didn't just keep my distance from you. I was running from the past too. Running. Confusion clouded Sarah's face. From what? He shifted, discomfort etched into his features. From a family I felt I could never measure up to. The expectations weighed me down, and I thought it was easier to be far away than to face that pressure. But I see now. I see how that distance hurt you. I don't understand, she replied, a mixture of anger and curiosity bubbling within her. You made a choice. You left me. Mom, she was alone. And now knowing you did it for yourself, it stings more than you can imagine. I know, and I regret it. I've regretted it every day. As her father's eyes glistened with unshed tears, Sarah felt a tumult of emotions. Years of abandonment and pain clashed with the flicker of hope that maybe he was changing. The crowd inside breathed as one, a collective sigh, charge of energy hanging in the air. I still don't get it, she said, her voice rising as the wave of emotion surged. Why couldn't you have just told me? Why silence? He inhaled deeply, clearly struggling to find the right words. Because I didn't want to burden you with my shortcomings, my failures. But that was wrong. It wasn't just my fight anymore. It was ours. A silence unfolded between them, lifting the fog of regret, but also casting a shadow of uncertainty. But it's not enough just to say it, Dad. We need to fix this. Now. Her voice cracked slightly, and she raised her fists, a call to arms. If we're going to do this, we do it together. Not just tonight, but from here on out. You need to commit. Okay, he said softly, determination injecting strength into his voice. Let us do it. The crowd shifted, a murmur of encouragement seeming to envelop them, a community leaning in, eager to witness the transformation. But first, what's the secret? What holds you back? She urged again, feeling in her veins that this conversation needed to happen in its entirety. His eyes darted to the ground momentarily. I've never really told anyone this. It's about your grandparents, the legacy, the business. They wanted me to take over, and I didn't want that life. I thought if I stepped away, I could forge my own path. I didn't realize I could still honor them by being present for you. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Your grandparents, she whispered, piecing together a picture she had never seen before. You were running from them, from their expectations, yes, he admitted, turning to look her straight in the eyes. But it ends now. It's time for me to own my past, for us both. A flicker of something ignited within her. Then let us match that donation. Let us show them we can build something from the ashes of your ghosts. His nod was firm, a flash of resolve gleaming in the dim light. As the noise from the room crescendoed, 1,000 dreams woven from unity, the promise of a new beginning pulsed between them. But just as they turned to head back into the warmth of the gathering, her father paused. There's one more thing I need to tell you. The urgency was palpable, and Sarah felt her pulse race again. What more could he reveal that might change everything? His gaze dropped to the floor, and Sarah could see the storm swirling in his eyes, the weight of a distant memory threatening to break free. It's about your mother, he finally said. His voice tremulous. A chill ran through Sarah. What do you mean? She didn't just stand by while I distanced myself. She knew something was wrong, and she tried to reach out. I didn't just abandon you, I abandoned her too, he admitted, a whisper that seemed to freeze the time around them. How could you do that? She asked, the anger piercing through her heartbreak. She deserved better. We both did. I thought I was doing the right thing. But all I did was push you both further away. I didn't believe I was worthy of being part of your lives. His shoulders dropped as he confessed, a man laid bare by his choices. Sarah took a step back, grappling with the new layer to the story. Her mother had always spoken of her father as a ghost haunting their memories, but she had never understood the depth of that ghost. You should have fought for us. For her, she said, feeling the frustration mix with sadness. Did you ever love her? Every day, he breathed, looking up, desperation flickering across his face. I loved her fiercely, but fear twisted that love into something I thought was easier to escape from than face. A knot formed in her throat. The intricacies of love and fear crashed together inside her. This revelation created a cavern of questions she wasn't sure she wanted to explore. What about me? She snapped. Did you even care to know me? To know who I was becoming without you? His expression softened, the truth dawning. I always did. I felt the weight of it every moment. I looked at pictures of you growing up, saw the faces of friends and knew I wasn't part of your life, but I feared you'd be disappointed in me even more. Disappointed? Sarah shook her head, anger flaring again. What about my disappointment? Every birthday, every graduation without you there? Her father's face crumpled, as if he wanted to fold in on himself, to disappear under the magnitude of his own failures. I can't take back the years, he murmured. But I want to be there for you now. But is it enough? She pressed, rawness spilling from her voice. Can we really go back? Can we really build a future after all this time? Together, yes, he insisted, a fierce resolve igniting in his eyes. If you'll let me try, we can heal even when it seems impossible. Your mom believed in second chances and I need you to believe too. The crowd buzzed around them, the conversation weaving in threads of hope and questions. As her shoulders trembled, Sarah met her father's gaze, the search for answers echoing in the eyes of the people surrounding them. She felt the weight of generations longing for forgiveness. Caught between the past and an uncertain future, she sensed the flicker of something, perhaps a chance, the possibility of real change. Just then, someone from the crowd called out, interrupting the delicate moment. What about the business? What are you going to do about it? The question hung in the air, colliding with the raw revelations shared moments before. With every eye turned towards them, Sarah's heart raced. The implications of this conversation went beyond just them. It was a legacy, a choice, a family torn between duty and desire. Her father opened his mouth to respond, but she stepped forward first. Maybe it's time we find out if that burden can become a bridge instead. As those words echoed through the room, she grappled with the truth that lay ahead. What would happen next would surely redefine everything. Would they be able to navigate the path towards healing together? Or was this just another step into uncertainty? Sarah could feel the tension rising as the crowd waited for a response. She looked at her father, searching his face for a clue, a hint of what their next move would be. The air felt heavy, thick with unsaid words and unhealed wounds. What do you think? She urged, a mix of hope and fear spilling into her voice. He cleared his throat, eyes darting around as if weighing options. The business, it was always a source of connection for us, wasn't it? He started. Your mom loved it. She poured everything into it, just like she poured herself into our family. They loved her, didn't they? Sarah felt an odd stirring of pride for a woman she idolized, one who hadn't given up even in the face of abandonment. Maybe they can love us too, she added, glancing at the familiar faces in the crowd. It's not that simple, her father replied, the weight of authority in his voice now. The legacy isn't just about love, it's about ownership, responsibility, and all those years I didn't show up. We can't just waltz back in and expect acceptance. But it has to be more than that, Sarah argued, her frustration raw. Can't just be about the past and what was lost. We can reshape it together. His eyes softened, revealing a glimmer of belief. You really think it's possible? Yes, she affirmed, feeling a surge of energy bubble within her. The anger began to recede, replaced by determination. If we stand together, we can show everyone that we're more than just your past mistakes. We can create something new. With those words, she felt a shift in the crowd. Murmurs erupted, some faces appeared inspired, hopeful, while others edged toward skepticism. A tall man with a weary look stepped forward. If you're serious, you'll need a plan, he said, crossing his arms. You can't just hope things will change. That's true, Sarah agreed, nodding at the crowd. But I refuse to believe we can't start somewhere. We owe it to everyone. A woman from the back chimed in. What do you have in mind? Sarah felt the weight of their gaze. This wasn't just her idea anymore, it was theirs too. Let us bring the community together. Let us reimagine what the business can be. Not just as a profit but as a hub, a gathering spot. We can host events, art shows, even reunions. Her father's eyes widened. That could work. It allows us to connect not only with each other, but with everyone we lost touch with. Encouraged, Sarah continued. Let us hold an open house, invite everyone to join us. Let us show them we're reclaiming what's ours, not just to run the business, but to rebuild trust and relationships. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. Doubts mingled with curiosity. It was a gamble, one that could fall flat or ignite something cherished. But what if it fails? Her father whispered, a hint of fear creeping back in. Then we try again, Sarah said fiercely. We owe it to ourselves to try. The hold of silence wrapped around them again, but this time it felt lighter, hopeful. One voice broke through. I'll help. Another chimed in, me too. It started as a ripple but quickly grew. Responses filtered in, filling the space with energy, and soon Sarah looked around to see hands raised, faces determined, ready for change. In that moment something shifted in her heart. With her father by her side, this could be their second chance. But beneath the excitement lay questions that lingered. Would the community accept them? Could they truly overcome the past? As the meeting concluded, Sarah exchanged a glance with her father, uncertainty still lingering but now tinted with a hint of possibility. They were stepping onto a complicated path of forgiveness, where the past would shape their future in ways yet unknown. With one last breath of resolve, she thought, maybe this was the bridge that would connect it all. But as they walked away from the crowd, a chilling realization struck. What if not everyone wanted to bridge that divide? What if some voices were still haunted by resentment? The days that followed that meeting felt like a whirlwind. Sarah and her father dove headfirst into their idea, the open house looming on the horizon. Mornings were filled with planning sessions, evenings spent reaching out to community members and local artists, and every available moment consumed by a sense of urgency. It was exhilarating and exhausting. Have we even thought about how to promote this? Her father asked one evening, his brow knitted with concern. They sat at the worn wooden table that had once been the meeting ground for family dinners. Now it was strewn with flyers and notepads, remnants of their brainstorming. We've got social media, Sarah replied, her voice steady. We can create an event page, get influencers involved, use our connections. It's about showing people that we mean business, no pun intended. He chuckled lightly, relaxing as he leaned back in his chair. It was fleeting but significant. He was beginning to see the potential in Sarah's vision. That's a good point. We need the buzz, he noted, crossing off items from their rapidly dwindling to-do list. And we should also reach out to your mom's friends. They'll want to be part of this. Exactly. And what if we had a special wall at the open house, where people can share memories or messages? It could set the tone for the community spirit we're hoping to create, Sarah added, her excitement bubbling like soda fizz. Great idea, her father said, nodding. You're really taking the lead on this, aren't you? Someone has to, she said, a smile lighting up her face. If we don't, who will? As plans took shape, Sarah couldn't shake the anxiety that occasionally nibbled at the edges of her joy. Deep down there was a nagging fear that haunted her. What if they failed? What if the community rejected their efforts? She brushed it aside, refusing to let fear suffocate her spirit. After all, they were pouring their hearts into this, and she believed it could make a difference. The day of the open house arrived quicker than she anticipated. Sarah felt her heart race as she adjusted the decorations, banners hanging above in cheerful colors, tables lined with information about the business and photos of her mother smiling warmly. She glanced at her father, who was helping set up in the back, a look of determination on his face. Are you ready? She asked him, trying to quell her nerves. I am, but let us just remember, he paused, searching for the right words. No matter what happens today, we've done our best. We're opening the door, but it's the community that has to walk through it. His reminder echoed in her mind as the first guests began to arrive, friends, familiar faces, and even a few strangers drawn in by curiosity. Laughter mixed with nervous energy filled the space, creating an atmosphere that buzzed with anticipation. Just as Sarah began to feel a swell of hope, she noticed a figure standing off to the side, arms crossed, a familiar scowl painted on his face. It was Jacob, a neighbor whose family had long-standing grievances tied to her parents. Her stomach dropped. Taking a deep breath, Sarah approached him, determined to meet this challenge head-on. Jacob, I'm glad you came, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. What is this? A pity party for your mom? He snapped, but the bitterness in his tone was softened by curiosity. No, it's a chance for all of us to rebuild. It's about coming together, not hiding from what happened, she said, her heart pounding fiercely as the tension crackled in the air. Sarah felt something shift. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment to unveil the truth of the past, the wounds that needed healing, the voices that needed to be heard. But as she opened her mouth to respond again, a shadow loomed large from the gathering, pulling her attention away. A group stood at the door, their expressions unreadable, eyes fixed on Sarah. Who were they? Her heart sank as she recognized the signs of animosity. Was this the moment the bridge began to fracture? Would the past reach out to pull her under just when she was ready to step forward? Sarah's heart raced as she took in the unfamiliar faces entering the open house. The room felt smaller, all of a sudden almost suffocating. They were the kind of people who stirred memories she thought had settled. Strangers with stories she'd heard echoed in hushed conversations at family gatherings, unkind words, sideways glances. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. Jacob stepped back, arms still crossed, seemingly satisfied with the brewing unease around them. Is there a reason you brought them here? He asked, his voice dripping with skepticism. I wasn't expecting, Sarah stammered, caught off guard. But she could feel her father's presence nearby, his supportive gaze urging her to stay strong. Whatever it is you think they came for, just know this doesn't reflect on you, her father whispered, leaning in. You're doing great. I'm just afraid they'll talk, she spat, her voice barely above a whisper, glancing over at the group as they murmured to one another, their eyes darting between her and Jacob. Just then, one of them stepped forward, a tall man with a sharp jaw and a piercing gaze. Sarah recognized him as Ethan, a classmate from years ago, a figure who had slipped further away over the years. Sarah, he said, the bravado in his voice barely masking the tremor within. We came to see what this was all about. We heard, he trailed off, and for a moment, everyone held their breath. You heard what? Jacob scoffed, a challenge hanging in the air. Sarah could feel the tension building, thick enough to cut with a knife. Ethan took another step forward, his expression shifting. The anger from earlier was fading, as if he was wrestling with something deeper. We heard you were trying to bring everyone together, to make things right. A collective intake of breath rippled through the crowd, drawing the attention of her father, who shifted his weight but remained rooted to his position, as if preparing to fend off any attack. Right? Ethan pressed, his voice softening. We might have our differences, but there's a long history here. We shouldn't dismiss it. That's kind of the point, Sarah found her voice gaining strength. This open house is about more than just us. It's about healing. She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. As a community. The murmurs continued, but now there was curiosity in the tone. Even a flicker of hope. Nearby, friends exchanged unsure glances while others moved closer to hear better. Jacob's frown deepened, but before he could interject, Ethan wore an expression of almost reluctant understanding. You might be onto something here, he said, glancing back to the others. What if we really tried to find common ground? Tension slowly melted into surprise, but just as new prospects hung in the air, Sarah noticed movement at the back. Another figure loomed, a woman with a familiar, fiery energy that sent a chill through her. It was Rebecca, someone whose family had been at odds with hers for generations. Sarah's heart sank. Suddenly, this moment of hope felt perilously close to slipping through her fingers. Sarah, Rebecca's voice sliced through the crowd, filled with a mix of challenge and something else. You think this is going to change anything? Sarah looked at her, feeling the weight of scrutiny. Maybe it can. She took a deep breath, staring Rebecca down. But only if we let it. As the crowd hushed, Sarah felt the walls close in again. Would they fight for connection or let old wounds define them? Just as she was prepared to step into this storm with determination, she felt a hand clasp her shoulder. Her father's touch grounded her, igniting a flicker of courage. Let us show them, Sarah, but before she could reply, the chatter around them surged, drawing attention away from their exchange. Do we have everyone's attention? The voice rose, cutting sharply through the brewing tensions. It wasn't over yet. Would Sarah find the strength to navigate this emotional crossroads? Or would her resolve falter with the weight of history pressing down? Sarah took a moment to breathe, her heart racing as the voices danced around her like an unpredictable storm. The air was thick with tension, yet a spark of hope flickered in her chest. This was her chance. This was the moment she had been preparing for, an opportunity to pull together a community that had splintered for too long. Everyone, please. She called out, raising her voice to cut through the noise. The crowd shifted, eyes turning toward her, some curious, others skeptical. Thank you for coming. We may not have all the answers yet, but we all share a history here. And that means we have the potential to heal. I know things have been difficult between us, but we cannot ignore that this community needs each other. A ripple of agreement spread among a few in the crowd, but Rebecca's face remained skeptical. You believe a simple gathering can erase all the years of hurt? She challenged, her voice sharp yet intriguing. What makes your story any different? It's not just my story, Sarah replied, feeling strength surge within her. It's our story. My father and I are stepping forward because we believe we can honor the past, while also building something new. But we need all of you to join that vision. Together, her father added, stepping forward, his expression earnest. We can create a community where the pain of yesterday breathes life into hope for tomorrow. It's not about hiding from what we've been through but facing it head-on. Ethan, seemingly swayed by their resolve, nodded alongside others. We all have wounds, but those scars can become the map that leads us to reconciliation. Gradually, hesitant voices began to chime in, one after another. Jacob remained quiet, but the tension around him began to lighten, his arms uncrossing slightly as the energy shifted. Sarah felt the spark of connection ignite among the crowd, the desire to overcome speaking louder than past grievances. Rebecca's gaze wavered, a flicker of doubt appearing in her eyes. How can we move forward? She finally asked, softer this time, as if curious about the answer rather than accusatory. Let us start with a commitment, Sarah proposed, encouraged by the shift. We need to set aside our differences. Let us work together to create events that unite us, art fairs, story-sharing nights. Let us channel our energies into building something meaningful, giving all voices a chance to be heard. A wave of murmurs danced through the crowd again, hopeful, pondering. Seeing it in action is the challenge, someone shouted from the back, eliciting nods of agreement. Yes, her father responded quickly, but it's our shared responsibility. If we commit to this change, we'll support each other through the uncertain parts. It won't happen overnight, but we can start today. I'd like to help with the art nights. Another voice called out from near the front, a young woman who had been quietly observing. My sister's an artist and she could get involved. We can start with local talent. See, Sarah exclaimed, emboldened by her vision becoming a reality. Together we can create something beautiful from what's broken. Maybe I can get my mother to help with food for the events. Another voice chimed in, the atmosphere shifting as more ideas sparked. Every suggestion coaxed a sense of unity from the crowd, a growing excitement radiating from each face. As Sarah stepped back, her heart swelled with gratitude. She glanced at her father, who looked equally moved. They were building a bridge brick by brick, moment by moment. Rebecca's posture softened, echoed by her own subtle nod. Fine, she relented, crossing her arms but with a kinder tilt. I'll support your plans as long as it's done right. That was all Sarah needed to thrust forward. Perfect, she proclaimed, meeting Rebecca's gaze directly. Let us set a date. Let us plan our first gathering together. The murmurs of excitement grew, faces lighting up with shared hope. As the crowd erupted into discussion, Sarah felt the past tugging at her. But for the first time, a sweet sorrow washed over her. This was the beginning, not just of community healing but also of her own. With her father by her side, they had embarked on a journey they couldn't predict, and that felt all right. Thank you, her father whispered, pride evident in his eyes as he enveloped her in a warm embrace. Everything was still raw, still uncharted, and yet they were moving forward, bound together by a shared purpose. The night lingered with laughter, new connections forming, and for Sarah, the future gleamed brighter. It was a long road ahead, but she believed they could carve a path through the tangled roots of resentment, toward something different. Promise me, her father murmured, pulling back slightly, that we'll face whatever comes next, together. Together, Sarah echoed, determination igniting a fire within her. This moment marked the dawning of a new chapter, one where they championed their own family and community, not as a specter of what once was, but as a vibrant tapestry of stories yet to be told. As the night unfolded with laughter, plans, and possibilities, Sarah took a deep breath, the excitement thrumming in her chest. She knew the journey was just beginning, but she felt ready. Ready for the challenge, ready for the joy, ready for the reconciliation. Let us bridge these gaps and ignite these flames together. If you haven't already, you need to subscribe now to catch our next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm that brings this community closer. We want to hear your reactions and feelings about this ending in the comments below. Let us keep this conversation going. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Join us and be part of something bigger.